All right, let's go ahead and get started. Um, just to get things kicked off here, I'll introduce myself. My name is David Nolan. I'm the Senior Application Engineer here with SmartSights, and today's topic is going over the control center functionality in the SmartBundle that allows you to create dashboards that are built out of widgets, which can contain summary information about your WIN-911 alarm system and or the processes that you're monitoring with our XLReporter reporting tool. So we'll kind of go over what the control center is, what it does, how it works. We will go over some of the functionality in the XLReporter reporting tool, how that links into these control center widgets. We'll do some hands-on demonstration of building dashboards with widgets in the control center, and then we'll kind of go over more of a technical deep dive on how to configure reports and then turn those reports into widgets. And of course, at the end, we'll have some time for question and answer. And on that note, if anyone does have any questions during the presentation, just use the question and answer menu, which is that question mark tab at the top right of your GoToWebinar window. All right, so in terms of feeding data into the control center, it's powered by report templates in XLReporter. These templates allow you to connect to real-time or historical data sources with connectors to all the leading SCADA HMI DCS vendors like Aviva, Rockwell, Schneider, GE, Emerson, and so on. There's also open standard connector to formats like OPC and OLEDB. And basically, once you've connected up to a data source or multiple data sources, you can design report templates. There's dozens of out-of-box templates you can use. You can also configure or modify those out-of-box templates using a standalone design environment or an Excel add-in. You can use these reports to produce powerful analytics based on the data you're logging into, say, a process historian. So you can look at things like a flow meter and grab, daily split differences on flows, min maxes and averages. You can build trends, other chart objects, and so on. And then you can use these templates to produce reports on time or on event in a web browser client, a desktop client, inside the WIN-911 mobile app. You can publish these things by email. And so basically one of the publishing formats for these reports is the WIN-911 Control Center, which is what we'll be going over today. So how does this work? Basically, the control center is a component of really of the WIN-911 solution, but also of the SmartBundle. And it can sit inside of a tiered Purdue type network. And you can kind of see in this diagram some of the SmartSights software modules, right, that are running to kind of enable this solution. So you might have a data source or a WIN-911 alarm source, right, sitting in level 1 with the SCADA. You can have XLReporter's backend server, right, sitting in level 2 where historians and databases might be living. And you could have the control center sitting in any of these layers, but perhaps where it becomes most useful is when you have it sitting inside of layer 3 or a DMZ, because it allows you to basically expose securely the information available in your XLReporter reporting system to a wider audience, right, inside of a broader corporate network. And of course, in layer 3 up here, you might also, right, have access to other, on-prem networks, right? And so you can use this control center solution to access and summarize the data coming from multiple SmartBundle systems. Some examples of what you can do with this configuration, right, is build dashboards that help you monitor both alarms and processes. And if you think about the top sort of left corner of this example here, right, these are alarm widgets that are coming from WIN-911, telling us, sort of the state of the game board, as it were, with your alarms. How many active unacts do you have versus acknowledged or maybe inactive and unactive alarms, and so on. And you can kind of correlate the level of activity you're seeing in this system, right, with what's happening in the process, which is what's feeding some of these other widgets that you see here. And in this example, this could be monitoring a process inside of a food and beverage production facility, looking at beverage blending, batching, production status, performance KPI comparison from one production run to, say, the several previous before that run. And so on, also OEE information. And then you can also look at things, say, from more of a production versus a process standpoint, right? So we can look at things like correlating alarms to line speed and downtime events, looking at downtime events as they relate between different assets in a production line, and how the level and type of alarm activity on an asset correlates with the line speed, say, or the amount of stoppages that are happening. From this widget view inside the control center, we can double click on these widgets and you can see a drill down report, right, that contains more detailed information uh, sitting behind, right, the pie chart that we just saw in the widget. It gives you sort of the tabular representation of that data, sort of as one example of how you could use the drill down functionality, right? You give your high level information on the widget, drill down to the details inside of a report. This solution also supports multiple systems being connected to control center, right? So we can kind of think of the information we're seeing here as being either a summary of different assets that are connected to one SmartBundle implementation. These widgets can also go across multiple SmartBundle installations so that you can basically get a very high level enterprise-wide or multi-site networked view of these production processes, the process KPI. And so in that configuration, it becomes more of a very high level supervisory with multiple drill down layers inside of the view, right? We see multiple sites represented on the widgets. And then we see the details of a process or an asset inside of the drill down from the widget. So there's sort of multiple layers of drill down, I guess, that you get in that sort of a multi-site implementation. And going back to the network architecture for a second, you can see in this example here, this is the connectivity inside of Control Center to sort of drive what WIN-911 and XLReporter, what SmartBundle systems we're connecting to. So you can see here I've got two connected to my system, so we can build widgets, right, that feed off of either of these two different systems. In terms of the system requirements for the SmartBundle, the widgets are available in the Ultimate edition of the SmartBundle, which basically under the hood is a WIN-911 Ultimate license and an XLReporter Ultimate license. So now let's change gears here and we'll take a look at some hands-on and kind of dive into how some of this stuff works, how the data is connected, how the visualization works, and how to arrange some of these tiled widget dashboards. So I'm changing my screen here. So what you're looking at now is my desktop where I have a demo system running, the one where those screenshots we just looked at are coming from. And you can see I've got the control center open and I've got a dashboard layout here that contains some summary information from my live WIN-911 alarm feed, some ISA metrics around floods and chattering based off those same alarms. And I've also got some trend charts here being powered by a connection to an XLReporter report template that itself is connected to my process historian, which is where the data on these trend charts is coming from. You can get different views inside of the control center here, right? So this view might be more of a maintenance tech's view, or someone that's interested in direct trends, say, of machine KPI or performance data. Looking at something that's more of a production process view, we can look at, say, this beverage blending dashboard, which tells me this sort of similar information to what we saw on the previous dashboard with the alarm widgets, but this also summarizes a blending process that's going on inside of the food and beverage facility. So you can see what the current production is with color coding rated to how close it is to the target for that production run. So you sort of get a red, yellow, green stoplight kind of indicator there. We get a summary of what that production run is. Right now we're working on a cherry batch that's been active for about 2 minutes, so it just started. And then we see some trends as to where the production is according to the target, some temperature data, and sort of see this within sort of a swimming line kind of chart to monitor what's happening in that current production run according to the recipe or the process parameters. We can also see some comparative information, right, where we can see how this cherry batch compares against these previous batches that have been running in the several hours or so leading up to this point in time. So we get both really detailed as well as a high-level summary of the process KPI. And we can also look at things from more of a production scheduling type of perspective. So if I go to this downtime analysis dashboard, we can see the widgets on here are a bit more advanced for sure, but they're showing us the correlation of the line speed, right, which is this sort of analog blue um, trend series on this chart, the state of the machine, right, either on or off, which is your sort of light blue background area series, and then we can see how the alarms, right, the top alarms that occur on this asset, for example, with the filler, right, being cap supply, tank levels, motor temperature, how those alarm spikes correlate to the downtime. And of course, we see this across, multiple assets, showing us the correlation of the alarms and downtime from one asset to the next in the production line, or you kind of think of this as a line that has a filler that feeds into a labeler, that feeds into a case packer, that feeds into a palletizer, and then we can see a breakdown of the alarms, on each of these assets by type, and those being these top 5 alarms you see here. Now, you can also double click into this widget, and we can see the full sort of report that's sitting behind those chart objects we have on the widget. So this full background report is sort of a detailed production downtime alarm analysis of what's going on inside of this facility, and the elements of this report, right, are what are feeding those widgets. So now let's kind of step back a bit and sort of take a look at the configuration, the functionality, and how we got to the point of this finished dashboard. So with respect to the alarm data that we looked at, right, the active on act, active act, alarm summary, that stuff all comes from WIN-911, and we could drive these kind of dashboards in a WIN-911 standalone implementation. The data widgets here come from XLReporter. So I've got XLReporter also running on this system, and I've got several report templates, right, that are feeding those widgets. So if I go into the native XLReporter client, you can kind of see what some of those reports look like before they sort of get chopped up into all those widgets. So this is my plant production downtime analysis report here. So I've got tabs for the downtime, the production, the alarm summary, and those downtime analysis charts that we looked at. If we look back to the simple trend chart dashboard we looked at, right, these are coming from this trend report here, right, and I can pan this around, I can zoom in and out. And every time I do this, I'm collecting data from my historian. That could be, an Aviva historian or Rockwell or GE or Emerson or so on. And this report is basically being fed from that information. I can pan it around, I can zoom in and out, I can change the tags either by palette swapping them or by opening up a live browser into the historian and picking them. What we're seeing inside of the control center there is a representation of one of these instances. So we can see here, for example, I've got blending 90-minute instance, main water pumps 90-minute instance, and these instances are sort of a combination of a tag selection, a time frame selection, and or any other filters that are available in that widget. So when the tags here that are selected are the pump flow tags, and the time frame here that is selected is 90 minutes, right? That's this 90-minute instance, and so we sort of use that instance to feed that control center dashboard. So it almost operates like an EKG chart, say, that's constantly refreshing and showing us the trend for the last 90 minutes of those tags. And if we look at the dashboard we saw in the food and beverage view, right, we have a discrete process report that's constantly running and auditing that blending process. Each time a production run starts, it's assigned a batch ID. We monitor it from the start to the stop, take all the KPIs between that discrete time frame. We build it into this report, and that's what's showing you those the blending audit widgets on the dashboard there. And the summary, right, comes from this blending summary report, which looks at all of the batches that are run over the past 24 hours, and it does some analysis on the batches or the production runs to determine, how close they were, right, to their ideal target parameters, and also breaks down the activity by product type, as you can see in this pie chart. And so what you can kind of glean from some of this is that we're not seeing everything that's available on all these reports inside of those widgets. We're just seeing basically the sort of the key high-level visualization that gives us an indication of how that process or how that asset is performing. And then from the control center client, we can drill back down and see the detailed report behind it. So it's sort of that the design philosophy here is building that sort of tiered layered information to show you the most important, easy to understand, need to know stuff at the top level in the control center with the ability to drill down into the details if you need to. So how are these widgets actually put together? How is the chart, in that production report mapped into the widget we see in control center? So this is all based on the report template design. And if we look at the pre-built templates that are available in XLReporter, there's a couple dozen of them. All of them have been designed here with those widgets in mind. So if we pick one of these chart type reports here, right? This is the one we were just looking at, my trend example. If you use any of these built-in templates, you'll basically just be asked, what the data source is that you want to use for them, right? You can use any historical data source you have available. And then all of the widgets inside of these pre-built reports are already defined for you. So then you can just go into the control center and access them. So if I look at the trend template that we have here, I'll open this up in Template Studio. We can see inside of the connect area, we have the data that's feeding this template coming from my local historian, and then the manage area of the connect menu maps all of the chart objects right out to these images, which are what you see inside of the control center. So if it's to convert, any arbitrary report into widgets, we just have to add these connections into it. And the connection can either be directly tied to a chart object, or it could be tied to a cell range, right? So picture, using a data connection, using formulas, using conditional formatting to sort of build a summary view of what's happening in the process. And then you just use one of these connections to convert that into a widget. And you can have as many widgets as you want inside of a template. And then, of course, once you're in the control center, you can draw any of your widgets from any of your templates to sort of build a high-level supervisory view that cuts across all of the processes, templates, and widgets that you've built in the XLReporter application. Now, on the control center side, right, if we look at what happens with these 6 widgets here, right, we have trend 1, trend 2, trend 3, 4, 5, and 6 are the different widgets in this template. If we want to add one of these widgets into the control center, we just go back in there and say, I'll go to my SmartSights theme widget here, right? This is the one that has those 6 pens on it, but they're coming from the pumps widget, or the pumps instance, I'm sorry, right? If we look at this widget here, right, it's coming from the main pumps 90 minutes lead instance. And then the snippet is the main pumps 90-minute trend 1, trend 2, trend 3, trend 4, 5, and 6. So if we wanted to add a new widget in here that comes from, say, the blending instance, we would just go to our edit widgets menu here, add a new XLReporter snippet widget. And then in the settings for that widget, we can give it a title, right? So we can call this one, say, for example, blending 1. We can choose the refresh rate. 1 minute is the fastest. And then we pick the template we want to draw that from. So it's going to be a trend blending 90-minute instance. And then we take, say, pen 1 from that blending instance. And to match these other trends here, we'll make it a 2x1 widget size visually. And then now that pen 1, which happens to be the reactor temp from that trend instance, is now being shown alongside the others. So if we're sticking with the pre-built templates, you can see the workflow for this is very easy to set up, right? We add a template in from the library, we pick which layout we want, if it's a trend or tabular report, whatever it is, and then we go into the on-demand client for that, right? And we can define an instance based on our tag selection and time frame selection. And then that instance information becomes available to the control center, and you can layer it on top of any of the alarm or other report data widgets that you have already set up there. Now, in terms of the drill down functionality, right, that just basically takes you back um, to the full view of the report. So if we compare this, right, we go into the on-demand client here in XLReporter. I go to the Austin plant line 1 dashboard here. Right, I refresh this. I can see all these tabbed views from the control center. If we go back in there, I go to the downtime analysis template. We can see in this one, right, that the widgets that are available here are basically just all the different chart objects that are available on that particular report, right? So we've got downtime by shift, reason, super reason, and then all of the alarm and downtime analysis objects. And if we put this back into run mode and we double click on one of these widgets, right, it's just taking us to the full view of that same report. So it sort of becomes a circular workflow in the end, in that you use XLReporter to connect to your process data, transform it into summary information, charts, metrics, what have you, turn that into widgets, connect those widgets in the control center, and then you can go all the way back down to the XLReporter view by double clicking on one of the widgets. Uh, if we go into the configuration here, we can see that most of my widgets are coming from the local system here, which is this XLR Mini Demo 1 system. But I do have another system connected here, so I could actually go back and add in widgets that tie into multiple systems. And so that's where we kind of think back to the network architecture of this. Right, this can all live inside of the plant, and we can use the control center basically in a single site configuration, if you will. But because this control center software is modular, right, we don't have to have this thing on the same system as the whole WIN-911 or whole SmartBundle system. We can install this thing across a network, across a firewall, right, with secure encrypted communication. And if we do that and we put this control center, say, on a station inside of a corporate DMZ, now we can use this to tap into and drill down to the process data right across multiple sites, across multiple SmartBundle installations. So that's sort of the the journey of today's webinar, right? How do these widgets work? What do they do? What are some of the use cases? And how can you set this up? So I hope this was informative, sort of as a not quite a full-on technical training session, but just kind of trying to expose you in the audience to how this functionality is implemented, what can you do with it, and sort of what is the scope of that implementation, within an industrial network. So I guess we'll kind of bring things to a stop here in terms of the hands-on, and then we do have a few minutes left to take any questions anyone in the audience has. So if anyone does have any questions, feel free to use the question and answer menu inside of GoToWebinar. It's that question box tab at the top right of your GoTo window. All right, doesn't look like we have any questions coming in. I'll give everyone one more moment here. Last last call for questions here. All right, doesn't look like we have any questions coming in, so I guess we'll sort of end the presentation here. Thanks everyone in the audience for attending today. If you do have more questions or would like to discuss the solution any further, feel free to contact us on our website, smartsights.com. Thanks again, everyone, for attending, and have a great day.